May this message find the one who has been holding on in silence, unseen and unheard by the world but never unseen by heaven. May these words carry the weight of 1,000 answered prayers. May the heart that is tired finally feel permission to rest, knowing that love is already moving toward it. May fear lose its grip tonight. And may every soul that receives this message know, beyond all doubt, that it was always meant to find them. There is someone in this world, someone whose name lives quietly in the back of your mind, someone whose memory visits you at the most unexpected hours, and right now, in this very moment, they are standing at the edge of something terrifying. Not terrifying the way danger is terrifying. Terrifying the way truth is terrifying. The way honesty feels when you have been carrying a secret so long it has become part of your bones. They are standing at the edge of a decision. A real one. The kind that changes everything. And the decision is about you. The angels did not send you this message by accident. They sent it because what is about to happen in your life is so significant, so carefully orchestrated by forces far greater than coincidence, that you needed to be prepared. You needed to be steady. You needed to know, before it arrives, that you are worthy of receiving it. So sit down. Breathe. And let me tell you what heaven has seen. There is a feeling you have been carrying. Not grief, exactly. Not loneliness in the traditional sense. Something more specific than that. Something that sits just beneath the surface of your ordinary days like a current moving under still water, invisible to everyone around you, but felt by you constantly, in the quiet moments between one thing and the next. You feel it when you wake up before your alarm and lie there in the dark, staring at nothing, aware of an absence you cannot fully name. You feel it when you are surrounded by people who love you and yet something inside you remains, unmoved, unmet, waiting. You have tried to explain this feeling before. Maybe to a friend, maybe to yourself in the pages of a journal, maybe to God in the small hours of a night that felt too long to survive alone. And every time you tried to put words to it, the words fell short. Because what you are feeling is not a wound. It is not depression. It is not ingratitude for the life you have. It is recognition. The soul-deep recognition of something that belongs to you, that is not yet in your hands. Think about the last time you felt truly, completely, inexplicably at peace. Not because everything was going well. Not because the circumstances of your life had arranged themselves into something comfortable. But because for one unguarded moment, you felt connected, to something, to someone, to a version of your life that felt more real than the one you were living. Maybe it was a dream. One of those dreams that doesn't fade when you open your eyes, that lingers in the room with you like perfume, like the aftertaste of something beautiful. Maybe the person was in that dream. Maybe you woke up reaching for them without realizing it, and the reaching broke your heart in a way that surprised you. Maybe it was a song. You were not expecting it. You were driving, or cooking, or sitting in a waiting room trying to look like everything was fine, and then a song came through the speakers and something in your chest cracked open. Not painfully. The way a window cracks open in spring, letting in the first warm air after a long winter. And you had to turn away from people so they wouldn't see your eyes. Maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe you were standing in a grocery store, or walking through a park, or sitting by a window watching rain move down the glass, and you thought of them. Suddenly. Completely. The way you always do. The way you have been trying to stop doing, because thinking of them used to feel like hope and now it sometimes feels like grief and you are no longer sure which one is winning. I want you to know something about that feeling. That ache. That persistent, unshakable awareness of someone who is not beside you but somehow never quite absent. It is not weakness. It is not obsession. It is not your mind playing tricks on you because you want something too much. It is a signal. It is the antenna of your soul picking up a frequency that is real, a connection that exists in a dimension deeper than the physical world, deeper than circumstances, deeper than time and distance and silence and all the things that have stood between you. And the angels want you to understand something about signals. When you receive one this clearly, this persistently, this undeniably, it is not one-directional. Signals travel both ways. Which means that everything you have been feeling, every pull, every memory, every inexplicable moment of missing, they have been feeling too. Differently, perhaps. Through a different lens, shaped by their own fear, their own history, their own way of carrying what is heavy. but feeling it. Undeniably. Inescapably. Feeling it the way the tide feels the moon, without choice, without resistance, drawn by something that operates outside the boundaries of human decision. They have been thinking about you. In the moments they least expected to. In the moments they most tried not to. In the middle of their own ordinary days, in their own silences, in their own space between sleeping and waking, you have been there. A presence they cannot explain and cannot dismiss. A warmth they reach for before they remember that reaching is complicated. A name that arrives in their mind like light arrives in a dark room, not announced, not invited, simply there, changing everything by its presence. The angels see this. They see both of you, separated by whatever it is that separates you, whether that is distance, or history, or pride, or fear, or simply the terrible timing that has kept two people who belong together from standing in the same place at the same moment, and they see the thread that runs between you. Unbroken. Luminous. Pulled taut by the weight of everything unspoken, but never, not once, severed. And they have sent you this message today because that thread is about to be pulled from the other end. Before you were born, before you took your first breath in this world, before you had a name, before you had a body capable of feeling the particular kind of longing you have been carrying, there was a meeting. Not the kind of meeting that happens in conference rooms or coffee shops, or through the awkward architecture of modern introductions. A meeting that happened in the space before space. In the silence before sound. In the place where souls are given their assignments before they descend into the beautiful, complicated, heartbreaking experience of being human. I know that might be difficult to hold. We live in a world that trusts what it can measure, that believes in what it can touch, that grows suspicious of anything that cannot be explained by the instruments we have built to explain things. And yet, every single one of us, at some point, in some unguarded moment, has felt the undeniable presence of something that our instruments cannot measure. Something that knows us better than we know ourselves. Something that has been present in our story from a chapter we cannot remember but somehow, in our deepest places, we recognize. That something is what the angels serve. That something is what sent them to you today. And what they are revealing, what they have been waiting for the right moment to reveal, is that the love you have been searching for, grieving for, doubting yourself over, and quietly, stubbornly, refusing to stop believing in, was never a question of whether it would arrive. It was only ever a question of when. And the when, beloved, is now. But let me tell you what that means. Because the word now is used so carelessly. People say now and mean eventually. They say now and mean soon, maybe, if everything goes right. When the angels say now, they mean something different. They mean that the mechanisms are already in motion. They mean that the decision has already been made at a level deeper than the conscious mind. They mean that what you are about to experience has already happened in the realm where things are decided before they are seen, and what you are living through right now is simply the time it takes for the invisible to become visible. For the decided to become real. Think about how a star works. The light you see when you look up at the night sky, that light left its source thousands of years ago. The star burned, and the light traveled, and traveled, and traveled through the incomprehensible darkness of space, and tonight it arrived at your eyes. The star did not know you. The star did not choose you specifically. And yet there you were, looking up, and there the light was, arriving, as if it had always been meant for that exact moment of contact between its journey and your gaze. Love moves like that. It burns at its source long before you feel its warmth. It travels through distances that are not only physical, through the distance of years, through the distance of wounds, through the distance of all the reasons two people found to stay apart even when everything in them was pulling toward each other. And tonight, the light is close. Close enough that you can feel the warmth of it even before you can see the source. The angels want to tell you about the person. Not everything. There are things that must remain yours to discover, moments that must be lived rather than narrated, but enough. Enough that you can prepare your heart to receive what is coming without flinching away from it in disbelief. This person has been in a war. Not a war anyone else could see. An interior war, the kind fought in silence, in the space between what we feel and what we allow ourselves to say, between who we are and who we have been pretending to be in order to survive our own fear. They have been fighting on one side of a battle between their love for you and their terror of what that love requires them to become. Because loving you, truly, fully, without reservation, requires them to become someone they have not yet been. It requires them to be braver than their history has taught them to be. It requires them to walk through the specific fire of their own vulnerability and come out the other side with their hands open instead of clenched. And that is terrifying. Not because they are weak, but because they have been hurt before, in ways that taught them that opening is the first step toward destruction. That reaching is the prelude to loss. That love, however beautiful, is also the name of the thing that can devastate you most completely. You may have your own version of this fear. Most people who love deeply do. But here is what the angels see that neither of you can see from where you are standing. They see the moment of resolution. The moment when the war ends. Not because one side defeats the other, not because fear is crushed or courage triumphs in some dramatic and final way, but because something shifts. Something small and enormous at the same time. A realization arrives. Not like lightning. More like dawn, so gradual you cannot point to the exact moment the darkness became light, but undeniable in its totality. The realization is this: the cost of staying silent has finally exceeded the cost of speaking. The weight of holding back has finally become heavier than the weight of risking everything. And when that moment arrives, and the angels are telling you it is arriving now, it has been arriving, it is almost here, there is only one thing left to do. Reach out. Not perfectly. Not with the right words arranged in the right order. Not with a plan or a script or a guaranteed outcome. Just reach. The way a person reaches for the light switch in a dark room. Not because they are certain of what they will find when the light comes on, but because standing in the dark has become unbearable. They are about to reach for you. And when they do, the universe will hold its breath. But before we get to that moment, before we talk about what happens when two people who are always meant to find each other finally stop running in opposite directions, there is something the angels need you to understand about yourself. About what you have been doing, quietly and without recognition, in all the time that this has been unfolding. Because you have not been passive in this story. You have not simply been waiting. You have been doing something extraordinary, something the angels have witnessed and honored and wept over in the way that light weeps, by becoming more of itself, brighter, warmer, more undeniable. You have been becoming. In every moment that you chose to get out of bed when the bed was the easier choice, you were becoming. In every moment that you chose kindness when bitterness would have been justified, you were becoming. In every moment that you looked at your own reflection and, despite all evidence offered by your exhaustion and your doubt and your fear, chose to stay, you were becoming the person that this love requires you to be. You have not been wasting time. You have been in training. Sacred, invisible, unwitnessed training for the life that is now, finally, irreversibly, beginning to arrive. The universe does not send blessings to people who are not ready to receive them. Not because it is cruel, not because it is withholding, but because a blessing that arrives before its recipient is ready is not a blessing at all. It is a burden. It is a beautiful thing given to hands that have not yet learned how to hold it without dropping it. You have learned. The angels have watched you learn. And they are here today to tell you that the learning is complete. That the readiness has arrived. That the thing you have been preparing for, without knowing you were preparing, without any guarantee that the preparation would ever be rewarded, is now within reach. Not almost within reach. Not approaching from a distance so far you cannot see it yet. Within reach. The way a door is within reach when you are standing directly in front of it, hand extended, fingers brushing the handle. All that remains is for it to open. And on the other side of that door, the angels can see this clearly. They are telling you this with the full authority of everything they have witnessed in your story. On the other side of that door is the beginning of the life you stopped letting yourself imagine because imagining it hurt too much. It does not have to hurt anymore. I want to ask you something. And I want you to sit with it before you answer, not in your mind, but in your body. In the place below your thoughts where the truth lives before language gets to it. Who were you when this began? Who were you at the very beginning of this longing, before it became familiar, before it settled into the architecture of your daily life like a piece of furniture you stopped noticing, before you learned to carry it so well that people around you couldn't even tell you were carrying anything at all? Think back to that version of yourself. The one who first felt this love, this pull, This connection that refused to dissolve no matter how much time passed or how much distance accumulated between you and the thing you wanted most. Think about what that person believed. About love. About themselves. About what they deserved and what they were capable of and what the future might hold if they were brave enough to keep moving toward it. I want you to notice something. I want you to notice the distance between that person and the person who is sitting here right now, listening to these words, breathing this breath, holding this moment. Because something happened in that distance. Something that cannot be undone, cannot be taken back, cannot be erased by any amount of fear or doubt or time. Something that the angels have been witnessing with a reverence that would take your breath away if you could see it. You grew. Not in the way that sounds simple. Not in the comfortable, linear, one foot in front of the other kind of growth that happens when life is kind and circumstances are favorable and the path forward is clearly marked. You grew in the harder way. The real way. The way that only happens when a person is placed in conditions that should, by all reasonable measures, make them smaller, and they choose, again and again and again, to become larger instead. You were placed in the fire of uncertainty and you did not become ash. You became gold. And I need you to understand what that means, not as a metaphor, not as a comfort offered to make you feel better about a difficult season, but as a literal description of what has happened to you at the level of your soul. Gold does not exist in its pure form on the surface of the earth. It exists buried, mixed with other elements, hidden inside rock that gives no indication of what it contains. The only way to separate the gold from everything that is not gold is to subject it to heat so intense that everything false burns away and only the true thing remains. You have been in that heat. You know exactly what I mean. You know the specific temperatures of the fire you have walked through, the nights that felt unsurvivable, the mornings that asked more of you than you believed you had, the moments when the person you thought you were dissolved completely and you had to find out, in real time, with no safety net, whether there was anything left underneath. There was. There is. There always was. And what remained when everything false burned away is the most extraordinary thing the angels have ever seen in you. It is a quality that cannot be manufactured, cannot be performed, cannot be faked by someone who has not truly earned it. It is the quality of a person who has been broken open and discovered, to their own amazement, that what lives inside them is light. You are different now. Fundamentally, irreversibly different. And the person who is about to risk everything for you, the one the angels spoke of, the one who has been standing at the edge of their own courage gathering the nerve to leap, they can feel this difference. Even across distance. Even across silence. Even across all the complicated history that exists between who you were when they last knew you and who you have become in the time since. This is important. This is one of the things the angels most want you to hear. People often believe that when a connection goes quiet, when someone pulls away, when contact ceases, when the silence stretches from days into weeks into months into a duration that starts to feel permanent, it means the connection has ended. It means the other person has moved on, has forgotten, has replaced what you shared with something newer and less complicated. But silence is not the same as absence. And distance is not the same as disconnection. The human soul does not operate on the same timeline as the human mind. The mind can decide to move forward. The mind can construct narratives about closure and practicality and the wisdom of letting go. The mind can fill itself with distractions, with new routines, with evidence that life continues and that continuing is enough. The mind is very good at this. It is one of the things the mind was built to do, to protect the person it belongs to from the full weight of what the heart knows. But the soul does not forget. The soul cannot perform indifference. The soul keeps its own record, maintains its own connections, honors its own bonds regardless of what the mind has decided to believe about them. And when two souls are genuinely connected, not by convenience, not by circumstance, not by the simple proximity of two people who happened to be in the same place at the same time and found each other useful, but by something older and deeper and more intentional than any of that, no amount of silence can sever what exists between them. Their soul has not forgotten you. It has been holding the memory of you the way the earth holds seeds through winter, in the dark, in the cold, in conditions that look, from the outside, like nothing is happening. But underneath, in the invisible space where transformation occurs, something has been alive and growing and waiting for the season to change. The season is changing now. And here is what that requires of you. Here is the part that the angels most want to reach you with, the part that everything else in this message has been building toward, because it is the part where your participation matters most. You have to let yourself believe it. I know how that sounds. I know how many times you have allowed yourself to believe and been met with something that felt like disappointment. I know the specific exhaustion of hope, the way it asks so much of you, the way it makes you vulnerable in ways that have cost you before, the way it feels, after enough seasons of waiting, less like faith and more like a door you keep opening that leads to the same empty room. But I need you to understand something about what you have been believing in all this time. Because the way you have been thinking about it, as hope, as wanting, as the possibly foolish insistence on something that may not be real, is not the most accurate description of what it actually is. What you have been carrying is not hope. Hope is fragile. Hope is the thing that flickers and goes out in the wind. What you have been carrying is something far older and far more durable than hope. What you have been carrying is knowing. The deep, cellular, unargumentable knowing of a soul that recognizes its counterpart and refuses. Regardless of what the mind says, regardless of what the circumstances suggest, regardless of what the reasonable and self-protective parts of you have tried to insist, refuses to unknow it. That knowing is not a symptom of wanting too much. It is not wishful thinking dressed up in spiritual language. It is the most reliable instrument you possess. More reliable than reason. More reliable than evidence. More reliable than any external validation you could receive from any source outside yourself. And that knowing has been telling you, consistently, through every season of doubt and distance and silence, this is not over. This is not finished. What is real between you and this person has not exhausted itself. It has not run its course. It is not a chapter that ended, it is a chapter that paused, mid-sentence, while both of you gathered what you needed to continue writing it. The sentence is about to resume. But here is what I need you to do in the time between now and when it does. Here is the preparation the angels are asking of you, not because you have not already done enough. You have done more than enough, but because this final piece is the one that will allow you to receive what is coming without shrinking from it, without self-sabotaging, without the old reflexes of a person who once believed they were not worthy of being chosen. I need you to choose yourself first. Not instead of the other person. Not as a replacement for the love that is coming, but as the foundation upon which that love will be able to stand. Because love, real love, the kind that the angels engineer and the universe conspires to deliver, cannot build itself on a person who is still secretly convinced they don't deserve it. It cannot take root in soil that keeps rejecting its own fertility. It cannot thrive in a heart that opens for others but remains locked against itself. So before the knock comes, and it is coming, the angels are certain of this, they would not have sent you this message if it were not true, before the silence breaks and the reaching happens and the door you have been standing in front of finally opens. Do one thing. Go to the mirror. Not to critique. Not to assess. Not to inventory the ways you have aged or worried or changed since this waiting began. Go to the mirror and look at yourself the way the angels look at you. Which is to say, with complete, unqualified, unearned, unconditional recognition of everything you are and everything you have been and everything you are in the process of becoming. Look at yourself and say, out loud if you can, in a whisper if that is all you have, I have been worth loving this entire time. Every version of me. Every scared version, every tired version, every version that made mistakes and fell apart and had to be put back together from scratch. Every single version of me has been worth loving. And the love that is coming knows this. It has always known this. It was built for this exact person that I am. Say it until something in your chest loosens. Say it until the part of you that has been braced for disappointment begins, slowly, carefully, the way a fist opens after holding something too tightly for too long, begins to open. Because the angels need your hands open to receive what they are bringing you. They need your heart open. They need the version of you that arrived here today. The one who has survived everything, who has grown through everything, who has become through everything. They need that version of you to be standing in full acknowledgement of its own worth when the moment arrives. And the moment is arriving. Faster than you think. Closer than you feel. More certain than anything you have ever been uncertain about. You have done the hard part. You have done the invisible part. You have done the part that no one saw and no one applauded and no one even knew was happening except the angels who have been beside you through every breath of it. Now comes the part that is visible. Now comes the part that is felt. Now comes the part that makes everything that came before it make sense, the part where the story you have been living finally reveals the shape it was always building toward. And that shape, beloved, is beautiful. It is more beautiful than you have allowed yourself to imagine. It is more specific and more tender and more exactly right than the version of it you have been holding in the cautious, protected space of your most private hopes. The angels have seen it. And they are asking you to trust them. Not blindly. Not naively, but with the particular trust of someone who has already survived the worst and discovered, on the other side of it, that surviving was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of the one that mattered. There is a particular kind of silence that exists just before something changes forever. Not the silence of emptiness. Not the silence of absence or abandonment or the particular hollow quiet that follows loss. This is a different silence entirely. Fuller. Heavier with potential. The kind of silence that exists in the held breath before the first note of a symphony. The kind that exists in the space between lightning and thunder, that suspended, electric, impossibly alive moment when you know, without being able to explain how you know, that something enormous is about to break open. You are living in that silence right now. I need you to feel that. Not understand it. Feel it. In your chest. In the back of your throat. In the particular quality of this moment, this breath, this exact point in time where you exist between what your life has been and what it is about to become. There is something in the air around you that was not there before. Something that arrived quietly, without announcement, the way the most significant things always arrive. Not with fanfare, not with obvious signs, but with a subtle shift in the atmosphere that the soul recognizes before the mind has any language for it. That shift is real. The angels placed it there. They placed it in this moment, in this message, in the specific sequence of words you have been receiving, because they needed to prepare the ground before the seed arrived. They needed to soften what had hardened in you. They needed to remind you of your own worth before the person who is about to demonstrate that worth arrives at your door, metaphorically, spiritually, and in whatever physical form this reunion takes in the specific landscape of your life. And now the ground is ready. And now you are ready. And now the angels can finally tell you, in the clearest and most unambiguous terms they have ever used in your direction, what is about to happen. The person who has been thinking about you, the one whose name lives in the back of your mind, the one whose memory visits you in the unguarded hours, the one for whom your soul has maintained a space that no distraction has ever been able to fill, that person is about to do something they have never done before. They are about to lay down every defense they have ever built. Every wall, every excuse, every carefully constructed reason why reaching out was too risky, too complicated, too much of an admission of something they were not yet brave enough to admit. They are going to set all of it down. Not because the fear has disappeared, it has not, it may never fully disappear, fear does not work that way, but because they have finally arrived at the understanding that the cost of staying defended is higher than the cost of being seen. They have been counting the cost for a long time. You may not have known this. The silence may have felt like indifference. The distance may have felt like a choice made easily, without the particular kind of suffering that you experienced on your side of it. But the angels need you to know that it was not easy. That the distance cost them something real. That the silence was not the absence of feeling, it was the overflow of feeling that had nowhere safe to go, contained behind a wall that was never as strong as it appeared. From the outside. That wall is coming down. Not with drama. Not with the kind of grand gesture that belongs to movies and fairy tales and the stories we tell ourselves about how love is supposed to announce itself. It is going to come down the way real things come down, quietly, privately, in a moment that looks ordinary from the outside but is, on the inside, the most significant thing that has happened to them in years. It might be a message. Simple words that took enormous courage to type, that were started and deleted and started again more times than you will ever know, that finally, got sent before the fear could talk them out of it one more time. It might be a call. Their voice in your ear after a silence so long it started to feel permanent, carrying in its sound everything they have not been able to say, everything that exists between you that words have never been quite large enough to hold. It might be something even smaller than that, A gesture, a sign, a moment of contact so subtle that the world around you would not even recognize it as significant, but you will know. You will know the way you always know when something is meant for you. The way the soul always knows when the thing it has been waiting for has finally arrived. And when it happens, when that moment comes, I need you to remember something. I need you to remember it not as advice but as a truth you are going to carry with you into that moment. A truth the angels are placing in you right now so that it is already there when you need it. You do not have to be perfect in that moment. You do not have to have the right response prepared, the right words assembled, the right expression on your face. You do not have to be the composed, healed, fully arrived version of yourself that you sometimes imagine you need to be before love is allowed to find you. You are allowed to be moved. You are allowed to be surprised and uncertain, and trembling with the particular vulnerability of someone who wanted something for so long that its arrival feels almost impossible to trust. You are allowed to be exactly who you are. Because who you are is precisely what they are risking everything to reach. Let me say that again, because it is the most important thing in this entire message and I need it to land somewhere deeper than your thoughts. Who you are, not the polished version, not the healed version, not the version that has everything figured out and presents itself to the world without any visible evidence of having been through anything. Who you actually are, with every scar and every fear and every beautiful broken place and every piece of you that is still in the process of becoming, that is what they are coming for. That is what they have always been coming for. That is the thing they cannot find anywhere else and cannot stop wanting no matter how long or how hard they try. You are not a project to be completed before you deserve love. You are a person. And you are loved as a person, in progress, in motion, in the beautiful and sometimes devastating process of being fully, authentically, irreducibly yourself. The angels want to speak to something specific now. Something that has been living in the quietest and most protected part of you. The part that you do not show easily, that you have learned to guard carefully because it has been disappointed before and the disappointment was expensive. The part that still, despite everything, despite the time and the silence and the distance and all the rational arguments against it, the part that still believes. That part of you is not foolish. It is not naive. It is not the remnant of someone who hasn't learned their lesson yet. That part of you is prophetic. The belief that has survived in you through every season of doubt, the quiet, stubborn, unextinguishable certainty that what exists between you and this person is real and significant and not finished, that belief has been accurate this entire time. Not as wishful thinking. Not as the mind's refusal to accept reality. As perception. As the soul's clear-eyed recognition of a truth that the circumstances have not yet caught up to. The circumstances are catching up now. And as they do, as the invisible becomes visible and the decided becomes real and the silence finally breaks open into something you have been waiting to hear, I want you to give yourself permission to receive it fully. Not cautiously. Not with one hand extended and the other held back in case you need to protect yourself. Fully. With both hands open and your heart unclenched and the particular kind of courage that belongs to people who have already survived the worst and know, from personal experience, that they are capable of surviving anything. Because you are not the person who first started waiting anymore. You are someone who has been through the fire and come out gold. And gold does not flinch when the light finally hits it. Gold receives the light and gives it back, brighter, warmer, more beautiful for everything it has been through. That is you. Right now. In this moment. In this breath. And the light is coming. The angels are not speaking to you in metaphor when they say this. They are not offering you comfort in the absence of truth. They are delivering a message that originates in a place of absolute certainty, in the realm where things are known before they happen, where outcomes are visible before the circumstances have arranged themselves to reveal them, and the message is this: what belongs to you is coming back to you. What was separated from you by fear and timing and the complicated human difficulty of being brave enough to love without guarantees, it is returning. Not as a lesser version of itself. Not damaged beyond recognition by the time and distance it has traveled. But fuller. Richer. Carrying with it the weight of everything it learned in the time you were apart, which is to say, the same lesson you learned. Arrived at by a different road, expressed in a different language, but identical in its essence. The lesson that what is real cannot be destroyed by absence. That what is true does not require constant confirmation to remain true. That love, The kind of love that the angels engineer, the kind that is built into the structure of two souls before either of them is born into a body capable of feeling it, that love is not diminished by time. It is deepened by it. It is not weakened by distance. It is clarified by it. It is not threatened by silence. It is purified by it, stripped of everything superficial, reduced to its irreducible core, which is simply this: I know you. Across every distance and every silence and every changed circumstance, I know you. And knowing you, I cannot choose anything else. That is the message they are about to bring you. That is what the risk they are preparing to take is made of. That is what is rushing toward you right now through the invisible channels of a universe that has been conspiring in your favor for longer than you have been aware of it. And when it arrives, when you are standing in the presence of everything you have been waiting for, when the moment the angels have been preparing you for finally becomes the moment you are living, I want you to do one final thing. Be still. Not passive. Not silent. Not diminished. But still in the way that a mountain is still, present, grounded, absolutely certain of its own existence, unmoved by the weather that passes over it because it knows, at its foundation, that it will be standing long after the storm has passed. Be still in the knowledge of your own worth. Be still in the understanding of what you have survived and what it made you. Be still in the recognition that this moment, this exact, specific, unrepeatable moment in your story, was always coming. Was always written. Was always the destination toward which every difficult step of your journey was quietly, invisibly, purposefully leading. You did not end up here by accident. You were brought here by love, the love that exists in the invisible architecture of a universe that takes better care of us than we take of ourselves, that sees further down the road than we can see from where we are standing, that knows, with a certainty that requires no proof and admits no doubt, that what is meant for you will find you. It has found you. Take a breath now. A real one. The kind that goes all the way down to the place that has been holding tension for so long it forgot what release felt like. Let it out slowly. And as it leaves your body, let it carry with it every fear that told you this was not possible, every doubt that told you were not enough, every moment of despair that told you the waiting would never end. Let it all go. Because the waiting has ended. Not with fanfare. Not with drama. But here, in this quiet moment, in this breath, in this message that the angels sent through the improbable channel of whatever brought you here today, the waiting has ended. What comes next is not waiting. What comes next is living. Fully, finally, in the knowledge that you are loved, by the universe that made you, by the angels that guard you, by the person who is about to prove it in the most human and courageous way available to them, and by yourself, in the new and lasting way that all of this was always trying to teach you. Go now. Go gently. Go with the particular peace of someone who has just been told a truth they already knew, confirmed in the deepest part of themselves, finally allowed to stop doubting. You are loved. You have always been loved. And the love that is coming, specific, personal, arrived at through the fire of two people who refused to stop being real, is the love that was made for you. The angels have spoken. Heaven has confirmed it. And somewhere, right now, the person who is about to risk everything for you is picking up their phone, or sitting down to write, or standing at the edge of everything they have been afraid to say, and they are choosing you. They are choosing you. They have always been choosing you. And now, finally, you will be able to feel it. The light that found you today was not accidental. It was aimed. It was sent from a love so vast it needed no address, because it has always known exactly where you live.